Welcome to the introduction of the new XL Plus 15-inch controller from Horner Automation. Thank you for joining us today. This is the national introduction of this product, and we're excited to talk to you about it. My name is Chuck Ridgway. I'm the Automation Technology Manager here at Horner Automation, and again, I'm pleased to join you today to talk about this exciting new product. Let's take a look at our agenda. First, we're going to have an introduction to Horner. Some of you may know us better than others, so we want to take the chance to introduce ourselves. Also, we're going to do a quick review of our XL series product line, which is our most popular product line of all-in-one controllers, and it is also the family of which the XL Plus belongs. Then we'll turn our focus to the XL Plus, its design and key features. We'll point out some online resources that are available to you, things like user's manuals, cut sheets, etc. We'll talk pricing, of course, and we'll also take time at the end of the session to answer any questions you may have. Let's talk about Horner Automation. Horner Automation Group is a wholly owned subsidiary of Horner Electric. Horner Electric was founded in 1949 by George and Mary Horner. They're the parents of the current owners, their sons, Phil and Alan Horner. We are headquartered in Indianapolis, Indiana, in the USA, and we are best known for our OCS line of all-in-one controllers. OCS stands for Operator Control Station. Now, we were definitely one of the pioneers in the all-in-one controller product category, and we are proud to state that we feel we have the truly first fully integrated all-in-one controller with both hardware and software when we introduced the OCS back in 1998, and we are proudly on our 5th generation product in that family. So we've got a lot of history in this product segment, and we continue to build it as we go. Under the same roof here at Horner, we also have the Horner Lighting Group. These are innovators in industrial lighting, including applications such as inspection for things like automotive, as well as high bay lighting, outdoor lighting, that sort of thing. A lot of innovative industrial lighting products with the Horner Lighting Group, and of course, they control all that lighting with state-of-the-art Horner Automation Group controllers. We are proud to be a USA company, headquartered in the US, but we are also a global company. Our headquarters are here in Indianapolis, but we have locations all over the world. And that's because we have customers who export their machines all over the world, and their machine needs to be supported wherever it may end up. Also, we have a lot of dedicated Horner users all over the globe, and they can be supported in their region by the local Horner office. And again, these are all Horner locations. Not shown on the map, of course, are also distributors and reps and other partners, but all these locations, including the ones in China, as well as Australia, India, those are all Horner locations. Our European headquarters, for instance, is Cork, Ireland, and I've been to most, if not all, of these locations, and we've built a great global team. Okay, now let's talk about our most popular product family, and that is the XL product family of all-in-one controllers. Now, these are no doubt the most functional controllers that you will find available on the market today. If you have a machine in which you want a lot of functionality and a lot of control capability, but you don't necessarily have a large area to put the controls, you cannot do better than the OCS product. No question about it. We have a wide selection of products with different sizes and performance levels, all the way from 2 inches up to 10 inches in the XL family, and soon to be growing to 15 inches with the XL Plus that we'll talk about soon. They perform industry-leading in terms of performance and functionality, and they're not only programmable with traditional ladder logic, but we also support the full IEC 1131 language set. And this is something that many of the other all-in-one controller manufacturers can't claim. Their entire product is not programmable in all those different languages, where that is definitely the case with our products. Okay, now let's turn our attention to the XL Plus, which is the newest member of the OCS product family, and it is extending the XL family up to include 15-inch controllers. We call it an XL Plus because of its higher performance and more advanced capabilities above and beyond the already excellent performance of the XL series. It's significantly faster than all of our XL models, which are known for their speed, and it's faster typically, almost universally than all of our competition as well in the same category. It's got the best graphics capabilities of any OCS. It's the most expandable from an I/O standpoint and otherwise, and it's made in the US, which we're proud of. Let's take a closer look at the design. Now, the XL Plus has a sleek, minimalist design, so it highlights the screen and minimizes the bezel and other pieces. We made it just as small as we could and still fit and adequately protect that 15-inch screen. It's only about 14.5 inches wide and 12.5 inches tall, and the depth is only around 3 inches. It does not have physical function keys, but it does have function keys that slide out from the side of the screen. So when you need them, you can press the upper right-hand corner of the screen and the function keys will slide out. And then when you don't need them anymore, you can retract them. It's just a newer approach that we feel still provides function key capability, but doesn't take up dedicated space on the product when you don't need those functions. As we flip the product over and take a look at the back, you'll notice what appears to be two primary components. A large flat area that houses the screen component, and then what we call the control box. And so that is a component that's not designed to be removed from the screen necessarily in the field. The XL Plus comes totally pre-assembled and ready to install. But it is a component that provides all the control, I/O, and connectivity functions. And as a little bit of a preview, in the future, we will sell the control box as a separate product. So you will be able to buy that control box, DIN rail mount it, and use it as a very high performance controller for a machine. Now, that machine may not have any local display, or you could choose to connect an external display to it via something called mini DisplayPort, which I will cover in more detail later. So again, the XL Plus is composed of two primary components that are pre-assembled, no need to take them apart. However, in the future, we will offer the CPU component as its own product. Now, the result of these design decisions is that we have a relatively large screened product with a fairly small cutout for its size. It's about the same size cutout as our standard 5.7-inch unit. Now, what are the advantages of that? Well, let me go into that a little bit. Let's talk about retrofits. Because that cutout size is small, the XL Plus can be used in retrofit situations to replace much smaller screens. So let's say, for example, you've got a machine with a competitive 10-inch controller on it, and you want to replace it with something new. Maybe it's just a 10-inch HMI, and you want to replace it with a newer control system. Well, you can effectively install the XL Plus through the hole that was already there in the door from the 10-inch HMI. You can install it through procedures that I'll talk about soon, and you can get full NEMA 4 seal around the XL Plus with a new controller, with new functionality, higher performance, and great graphics, and a much bigger screen. And you can do that as long as you have a little bit of room around the peripheral of the old HMI to be able to install the newer XL Plus. This also helps us out in a retrofit scenario with an older Horner product as well. For many years, we sold the QX product line, which was a great line of graphics controllers that were sized anywhere from 5.7-inch all the way up to 15-inch. Well, the beauty of the XL Plus is, again, it can replace a majority of those QXs out in the field in a single model. Now, how do we accomplish this? Installing a product in a cutout that was not necessarily designed for that exact size? Well, we do it through double gasketing. So we have an outer perimeter gasket that provides the seal in both a retrofit application as well as a NEMA 4 or 4X washdown application. So the inner seal is really only used in applications with NEMA 12 type seal requirements. in a new installation, or maybe a NEMA 1 or other limited installation. The outer seal is the key seal for both retrofits as well as washdown applications. Let's take a look at the installation procedure. How does that actually work? Well, let's say we've got an application where it's just NEMA 12 as far as the type rating. So that's strictly oil tight, no washdown here. And we've got a fresh panel, no existing holes. Okay, we start out in step 1 by making the cutout to the appropriate size as per the information that comes with the XL Plus. And remember, there's a template that comes in the box that'll help you size up that cutout. So after you've made the cutout, you install the XL Plus through the hole, and then you effectively apply a stiffener, which is included in the box, but again, only if the panel gauge is light enough where you are concerned about the panel stiffness. Then you install 4 clamps around the perimeter, and you are good to go from the standpoint of a NEMA 12 application. Now, for a NEMA 4 application, you need to engage the perimeter seal for washdown purposes. So that means an extra step. You need to drill holes for perimeter studs using that same template that was available. And then you need to install the perimeter studs supplied in the box, screw those into the holes, and then apply the rest of the supplied hardware. And now you have a product which is fully NEMA 4 or 4X rated. Now for retrofits where you've already got a hole, you just need to follow the last 2 steps, steps 4 and 5, to again engage the perimeter attachments, which provides a seal up to 4X, and in the case where the hole doesn't match exactly, for a NEMA 12 application, it also provides the primary method by which the XL Plus is affixed to the panel. Okay, so that's the installation procedure. Let's talk about key features with the XL Plus. First of all, the XL Plus is based around a high-resolution 1024 by 768 display. Now that's a traditional 4:3 aspect ratio. So that's the kind that's traditionally used in most industrial application, at least it has to date. Now that also helps with retrofits because most replacement units, or most units that are previously installed, also have this 4:3 aspect ratio. So when you need to reconfigure graphics, make them larger, whatever the case may be, at least the ratio is going to be similar, if not the same, to what was there before. But even if it's a new installation, 1024 by 768 is plenty of resolution for great looking graphics. Now let's move on to fonts. The XL Plus supports TrueType fonts. So the fonts that come with the XL Plus work just fine for most applications. But let's say you have a need for Asian fonts or Cyrillic fonts or fonts of various sizes or in a specific typeface. If you can find the TrueType font on your computer or on the web, you can use it in your project. So that'll give you great control over the fonts. Next, let's talk color depth. The XL Plus supports 24-bit color. That means when you import graphics onto the project or into the project, you will get great looking graphics with good looking gradients, without pixelization. Everything will look terrific, and that's because of the 24-bit color detail available with the XL Plus graphics. From a brightness standpoint, if this were a smaller screen, 500 nits in terms of a brightness rating would only be okay. But for a large screen, a 500 nit brightness over that size of panel is quite good. So I think you'll be very happy with the brightness level of the XL Plus. From a video standpoint, the XL Plus can support real-time video displayed in a window or full screen. Now, why would I need to use real-time video in an industrial application, you may ask? Well, let's give an example of an application where you have a machine, let's say a press, which has an area in which it's advantageous for the operator to be able to see. However, it's not in a safe location for them to see, or they're too far away from that location to see what they want to look at. So let's say they want to look and see if a part has properly nested inside the press. Well, you can place a USB camera in the pinch point or in the area which is otherwise unsafe or otherwise unviewable from the operator station, install that at that area, run the cable back to the XL Plus, and now you can see real video on the screen that the operator can use to operate the machine. So that can be very useful. The other thing you can do with video on a window on the XL Plus is you can show training videos. Let's say you want to show a new operator how to operate the machine, or you want to show a maintenance person how to do routine maintenance on the machine. Those are all things that can be done by showing an MP4 training file played on a window on the screen with full audio if you'd like. That all can be accomplished with the video capabilities of the XL Plus. Finally, let's talk about the touchscreen. The XL Plus utilizes a resistive touchscreen that has what's called a feather touch. That allows you to apply greater control with less pressure. Now, it does not necessarily provide multi-touch capability, but we will have support for gestures in the future, and we'll be able to do that with a resistive touchscreen, which is much more industrially noise immune than a capacitive touchscreen would be. Next, let's take a look at the connectivity on the XL Plus. First, let's take a look at the side towards the hinge. The XL Plus is powered by typically 24 volt DC. It supports a range of 18 to 30 volts DC. That means it's not necessarily designed to run at 12 volts. The XL Plus has two CAN ports. Let's take a look at the first CAN port. That's typically used for I/O expansion using any of our Horner I/O platforms like Smart Sticks, Smart Rail, Smart Block. It also can be used for controller-to-controller communications. Moving over to the serial ports, there are 3 serial ports, all of which can be configured for either RS-232 or RS-485. And we support a complete suite of protocols, including Modbus Master, Modbus Slave, DF1 Master, etc. We also will notice that there are no dip switches, so also no jumpers. So all the switching is done electronically. So the selection between RS-232 or RS-485, full duplex or half duplex, whether termination needs to be added on the OCS end or not, whether biasing needs to be added on an RS-485 network, all that switching is done electronically from either the system menu or Cscape. So that's very nice not having to deal with dip switches and jumpers. Looking at the bottom of the unit, here's where we start to see the USB ports. So on the left, you see 2 USB-A ports. Those can be used for flash drive support, as well as connecting live video cameras like I talked about before. Next, we have audio jacks. The audio output jack can be used to connect to either an amplifier or amplified speakers. So that would be for, say, playing sound for training videos, or you can even do audio-only type sound playback for things like the audible enunciation of alarms, or maybe sending out announcements over an intercom system for a warehouse facility that doesn't have a lot of people around on second shift or third shift, or maybe during the day for that matter. So you could enunciate over the intercom system from an XL Plus that you've got a truck that's pulled into Dock 5, for instance, that's ready for service. Now, the real stars of the show on this side of the controller are the Ethernet ports. Like the XL7 and all the other products larger than that, the XL Plus supports 2 fully independent Ethernet ports. This is not just a built-in switch. And these ports support a complete suite of industrial internet protocols that we'll talk about later. Now, what is the functionality, or the advantage, I should say, of having 2 completely independent ports? Machine builders love this. You can have a dedicated port for Ethernet on the machine, things like high-speed I/O or maybe high-speed interfaces with servo products, whatever the case may be, so that low latency, critical data can be on a dedicated Ethernet network, while you have a totally separate Ethernet port that you can hand over to the IT group for upstream connectivity to various factory information systems. So that's a real advantage for a machine builder to be able to hand over a completely dedicated port and tell them, here you go. You can access data from the machine all you need, but you won't have to worry about interfering with any of the critical Ethernet communications going on in the machine, and you'll be able to do this with a completely independent port. Lastly, on the right there, you'll see the mini display port. That's what I alluded to earlier. That is a digital display port for supporting external displays. Now, currently, it doesn't have any functionality, but in the future, the XL Plus will be able to support a secondary display through either HDMI, DVI, or DisplayPort / mini DisplayPort. Those are all compatible with this port. We don't support that yet, but that'll be supported in the future. And then I also mentioned that at some point we'll be supplying the XL Plus control box as its own product independently, and in that case you'll be able to use a totally independent display with that XL Plus CPU. That'll be mounted inside the panel on DIN rail in that case. So mini DisplayPort is a great feature for the future for sure. All right, let's take a look at the other side of the product, which is basically away from the hinge. We'll start with microSD. We support microSD XC, which means we can support cards 32 gigabytes in size, and we can actually support larger ones with appropriate formatting. And this can be used for all the normal things that we use microSD for on a Horner product. Maintaining the product itself, loading programs, cloning the unit, audio and video file storage, data logging is tremendously powerful. All those things can be done with the microSD slot. Next to that is the mini USB port for programming purposes, and then the second CAN port. Now this CAN port is very versatile. Not only can you use it for expansion I/O like you could with the first port, but you can also use it for interfacing with field buses like CAN Open, either as a master or as a slave. You can also connect to DeviceNet, where the XL Plus is the DeviceNet master, and you can connect to a J1939 network. What is J1939? J1939 is the communication network that is basically on every vehicle made since about the mid-90s. It's also on off-road vehicles, and it's pretty much included on anything that has an engine on it, like maybe a large engine-driven compressor or a diesel pump, something of that nature. So what you can do by tapping into the J1939 network is you can receive important engine information and system information, things like temperatures, throttle position, etc., etc. So it can be very useful in those applications. And then lastly on the right there, you'll see a third USB-A port. Has the same functionality as the first two we looked at, and you can use any two at any one time. So in the future, we'll also add additional capabilities to USB, things like maybe support for external touchscreens, external mice, keyboards, barcode scanners, that sort of thing. Today we support barcode scanners, but strictly through RS-232. Let's talk a little bit more about Ethernet, because we talked about the advantages of having two Ethernet ports, but we didn't talk specifically about all the different protocols that you can talk over Ethernet. Now, we not only support all the protocols you see here on the screen, but we support them simultaneously. So you can have up to 16 simultaneous connections per Ethernet port, which means that if you are a Modbus TCP master on the machine, polling an industrial device that has a Modbus TCP interface, at the same time you can also be a Modbus TCP slave and being polled by a SCADA system, for instance. If you're on a network that also includes Ethernet IP devices, you can interface and exchange global tag data with Logix processors from Rockwell. Or if we're going to be on an Ethernet IP network and a Ethernet IP scanner or master wants to get high-speed data out of an XL Plus because an XL Plus is running a machine peripheral or a plant peripheral, then the Ethernet IP scanner can see the XL Plus as a high-capacity, high-speed Ethernet I/O device. We also support other protocols like Ethernet Global Data, which is great for moving data at high speed, big chunks of data at high speed between controllers. And importantly, we also support something called BACnet IP. That's becoming a very popular network in building and automation type applications. So let's say that the XL Plus is controlling a very large chiller or maybe a large compressor that are providing those resources in a huge plant. Well, somewhere in that huge plant, there's a building and automation network of which there is a central control center where all the important HVAC and all the other important plant peripherals are being monitored and controlled. So the XL Plus in that scenario that's running the chiller or running the compressor can be tapped right into that network and be pulled as a slave by the building and automation network. So that's a very powerful feature and something you'll find even more widely used as time goes on. And then in addition to all these industrial and commercial protocols, We also have the ability from the XL Plus to send email, to exchange files with the memory card over FTP, and to do WebMI web serving. So that's the capability for the XL Plus to serve up custom web pages that you design right in Seascape. You don't have to learn anything new. You can either replicate your existing screens in Seascape, or more powerfully, you can create new web pages with higher resolution if you'd like, that are tailored for the specific data and information that the remote users want to see over the web interface. And those web pages can be served up from the memory card in the plant environment directly, or through the use of a VPN or other similar type device remotely all over the world in a safe fashion. So that's the WebMI capability that's built into the XL Plus. Another great capability we need to talk about is the high performance, the fast logic scan of the XL Plus. Now the XL Plus is built around a system on module, or SOM, and that's something that you geeks will probably know what we're talking about. Others have never heard of it before. But basically that is a circuit board that contains a lot of critical components, including a multi-core CPU in this case. Now, at the release of the XL Plus, we're not even taking full advantage of all that's available in that multi-core CPU. So we're going to offer great performance in the XL Plus at launch, but even better performance over time as we write firmware that takes advantage of the multi-cores in the CPU, and that takes advantage of some advanced graphics capabilities built with the coprocessors and other type resources. But the product, as it stands today even, offers 50 to 80% faster scan rates than our already fast XL series. So that's definitely something to enjoy today and to look forward to in the future with even faster performance and additional features. Now let's talk I/O. Let's start with the built-in I/O. Now you don't have to order XL Plus with built-in I/O. You can order it with no local I/O, and for a large I/O system you may decide that's the way to go. But let's talk about some usefulness of the built-in I/O even in a large I/O system. Let's say you've got some selector switches, pilot lights, etc. that are mounted on the door right alongside the XL Plus. Well, why not order the XL Plus with some built-in I/O and wire those peripherals right to the back of the XL Plus so the wiring never has to leave the door? That's a great idea. That's a great way to keep the wiring clean. While a bulk of your I/O that may be located, elsewhere can be interfaced with over Ethernet or over CAN. So that's a use for the built-in I/O even in a large I/O application. But you also might have an application that requires a large screen but doesn't necessarily need a huge amount of I/O. And in that case, the XL I/O may be all that you need. And we support all the standard XL series I/O options all the way from the Model 2, which is the I/O option that has 12 digital in, 6 relay out, and 4 analog in, all the way up to the Model 6, which is our analog specialist. In addition to its 12 digital in and 12 digital out, it has 6 fully universal analog inputs, configurable between RTDs, thermocouples, millivolts, milliamps, and voltage, all of which can be configured independently per channel. So it's got those 6 analog inputs, and in addition to that, it has 4 universal analog outputs that are configurable between 4 to 20 milliamps and 0 to 10 volts. So that's the built-in I/O options with the XL Plus. Now, with its tremendous I/O capabilities, including 2048 digital in and out, 512 analog in and out, the XL Plus is definitely suitable for some large systems. And in that scenario, you can use it with any of the Horner I/O, including the Smart Rail, Smart Block, Smart Sticks, even the Smart Mod, which is an RS-45-based I/O expansion system. From a software standpoint, the XL Plus is programmed with the exact same software package as all the rest of our Horner products, and that's Seascape. And you will need to use Seascape 9.8 Service Pack 1 or later, and that will be released any day now. We're currently in the final stages prior to release, but you'll see it on our webpage shortly. Now, one of the real advantages that we have at Horner is that we have one software package for our entire product line, multiple product lines, in fact. Most of our competitors have a different software package for different major product lines. So they might have 3 or 4 different programming packages depending on the product you're using. And if you want to move from one product to another, you may very well have to use a completely different software package, and you might have to start over again completely in your application. That's never the case at Horner. You could take an application that's currently running, let's say on our 6-inch EXL6 controller or even our older XL6 controller. You could take that application, and if the customer wants to upgrade to a really big screen and some newer performance, you could say, fine, I can offer you the XL Plus, and you can take that exact program that you've already written, and you can just do some modifications to the graphics, maybe modify the logic a little bit if you want to, but literally you're not starting over again. You're just literally adding on to what you've already done. So that's a real advantage with Horner products, and that's still true with the XL Plus with its Seascape support. Let's talk approvals. The XL Plus comes with CE approvals, of course, and it is RoHS rated, so lead-free. It is a lead-free product. It has UL Class 1 Div 2 ratings for hazardous locations, as well as ordinary locations, of course. Also, it has the full gamut of UL type ratings. So we didn't just get the NEMA 4 and 4X rating, we also paid for type 1, 3R, 12, 12K, and 13. So if you have a UL inspector who's looking at things very closely, you don't have to worry about him not giving you the rating you want. The XL Plus has the rating you need, and the UL inspector will find it and give your machine the rating that you want. Let's talk about online resources. What additional information can I find on the Horner website at hornerautomation.com to provide the additional information that I need? Let's start with the sales sheet. This is a nice piece, provides a good summary of the features and benefits of the XL Plus along with a variety of photos. It's a good starting point for the XL Plus. Next, the data sheet provides all the key specifications, including things like voltage levels, current draw, temperature ratings. The ambient temperature rating of the XL Plus is -10 to +60, so that's something to be aware of. Okay. So the data sheet is another resource available to you at hornerautomation.com. Of course, we have the user's manual as well. That's a large document that includes dedicated chapters for things like high-speed counting, the system menu, serial communications, that sort of thing. So it provides lots of detail that is important for a system designer. And then included right in the box is a quick start guide and install template. So the install template, of course, is very critical in terms of being able to properly install the device, providing a printed to scale template that allows you to get the holes in the right spot, for instance. So that's included in the box. And then printed right along with that particular template is a quick start guide that gives you, some key power connection information, shows you what all the ports do, all that sort of good stuff. So all the important things that you need to know to get started quickly are included in the quick start guide that's printed right on the same paper as the install template. Now, also available online is a new section at hornerautomation.com under the Resources tab, and that is a video section. And in this video section, you will find prominently displayed a couple XL Plus videos, including an XL Plus hardware overview, as well as audio-visual capabilities. So those are available again at hornerautomation.com under the Resources tab under Videos. So check those out right away. Let's talk pricing. So the XL Plus starts with the Model 0, which is the model with no built-in I/O, at $34.99, and it ranges up through the Model 6 at $4,049. Now it's available for order today. Current lead time for new orders is 4 to 6 weeks. Now if you have an existing order in-house and you're expecting delivery, we're doing everything we can to get the units out as soon as possible. We're in the final stages of our initial production run. We're dotting all the I's, we're crossing all the T's. We want to make sure that the product gets out as soon as possible, but with the highest possible quality. So please bear with us while we prepare shipment for those of you who've already ordered. Otherwise, for new orders, you should be able to get a lead time of approximately 4 to 6 weeks. All right, let's get to some questions. The first question, just the 15-inch model only? For now, that is definitely the case. The 15-inch model was by far the model for which we received the most requests, and the XL Plus was designed around that 15-inch size. However, as you saw from the design approach, it's possible to, just by changing the display component, to support other sizes in the future. and reusing the existing control component. So that's an approach we will take, but at this stage, the only model available is the 15-inch. Next question. Do the USB-A ports support any keyboard or mouse functions? How about barcode scanners? Currently, they do not, but in the future, we do plan on supporting all of these functions via USB. Does the XL Plus support RoHS, which is sometimes called lead-free? Yes, the XL Plus is lead-free and does carry a RoHS classification. Is there a low temperature option for the XL Plus? Currently, the only plans are for the current temperature level of -10 to +60 C to be supported. So at this stage, no lower temperature options are being planned. Any plan for Profinet support? Currently, we don't have any firm plans for onboard Profinet support. However, we will support Profinet externally sometime in the fairly near future, something you definitely will see in 2018. So if you want the XL Plus to be a Profinet master, for instance, we'll be able to support that with a separate hardware adapter later in 2018. How about support for OPC UA? We currently don't have any plans for OPC UA, but we are reactive to the market and we are listening. Please elaborate on the Ethernet IP protocol. Are you a master or a slave? Well, there's actually a couple different ways that we can support Ethernet IP today. So let's first talk about Ethernet IP as a master, or more correctly called a scanner. We are not a Ethernet IP scanner through our built-in hardware. However, we have interfaced with third-party products that provide that Ethernet IP scanning capability so that products from Horner, like the XL7, or in this case the XL Plus, can effectively be the scanner or master on an Ethernet IP network. So these are from companies like Real-Time Automation and Hilscher. But built into the XL Plus and the other Horner products is Ethernet IP as a high-speed I/O device, where we can support up to 128 words in and 128 words out as what some people would call a slave. And we can support HMI-style functionality through the Logix exchange approach, where we can exchange real-time global tag data with a Logix processor. That's also done over Ethernet IP. So that's the extent of the Ethernet IP support so far. So that appears to be the last of the questions. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to check out all the online resources available at hornerautomation.com. That includes all the product information, model information, and training videos. Have a great day.